All right. So week 7 is a video from this semester, the fall 2024 semester. And I was looking at the content this week, and the only thing I probably felt like there was two things I wanted to say. One was a preview of the end of the semester dates, and two was really about that some of you I noticed when you're picking your templates, which I liked the ones that I saw, just know that you do need to change the content for each page. Okay, if so, the idea is not to use that content, and I've given you a fairly simple way to get content. Is just to go out to ChatGPT and have it say, "Here's content. Here's the topic I want." By the way, the more information you give it, the better the content it can create. You can even give it a sample of your own writing and then say, "Put it in my voice." There's a lot of ways, but my point about this is that you do need to have the content updated from that original template, because that is part of doing this work that you're working on. I am going to leave some content that I just found in here because I remember when I put this in about the idea of making sure that you understand the difference between a URL that shows in this case just files on GitHub versus rendering a web page. So just know that going forward, when I ask for the URL for your site, for your P0, it's looking something like that. And I did have a couple of students ask me about sample sites, and I realized because of the new way that I'm doing the GitHub IO, I end up removing all the student accounts off of there. So I am going to, I think, go back and see if I can find some, right? But I'm trying to remember. I think mine, yeah, so actually mine's out there, right? So actually in this link, right? Actually, this is not my complete one. I need to actually push this one as I realize and looking at it, because there's a lot it doesn't have. It doesn't have my updated content. I was just talking about that. My photo, which I know I have somewhere. I just haven't probably pushed it to this site yet. And it is individual. So there are some, so this is actually not a bad thing to talk about, is that these links that are on here now, this would not be considered the menu that I'm asking for, because what's happening is what I want is this menu to go to other pages, right? A full page. And in this case, what they're doing is they're basically doing what's called anchor links. And this is what the whole, and I know I've talked about this, a single page application or a single page website, PWA, is fine, but not what you need to do for this class. So anyway, I will find that content and update it. But my point about this was just understanding the difference. So when you're giving us for us to review, right? Because that's the idea, is we're moving into more and more work related to the project 0. Okay, so that's content, making sure that URL is there. And now let's just I think for kicks, but it's more than just for kicks. Like, so in here, if I was to go in and select this course at the part that at the date I'm recording this, right? So all that due date will come in, right? So in this case, if I roll forward, what we can see is the end of the semester dates, right? So this course, the project 0, right? So in this case, right, is due by midnight on Wednesday. Now, hopefully you're all used to my due dates. It's really going to be when I wake up in the morning. But in this case, there's an additional incentive for you to actually get it done early, because I can review it, give you feedback, and you can change it. But if you're submitting that night, it won't have that ability. You won't have that ability. Okay, so just FYI. You do have to grade yourself on the Project 0, so make sure you do that. You do have to do a sitemap. We talk about that in the coming couple assignments. But here we are at week 7, right? 8, 9. So there's really 7, 8, 9, 3 weeks when you count 7 that you're into now as far as the content. But here's the other thing I want you to know, right? Is also if you're submitting late work, the last date I will take that late work will be noon on the 9th of October. Okay? So I'm just telling you, make sure if you're submitting late work, it gets to me by that point in the semester because I will wake up on Thursday morning, grade anything remaining, get my documents ready for the campus, and then submit those to the campus. So asking me in the evening on Thursday, not a great idea because it's too late. Well, not a great idea. It doesn't work at that point. So let me make it even more, hopefully, definite so that you understand that. Okay, so that's the way the course will flow. Like I said, we will have assignments related to working on the site. And at one point, you'll need to have selected a matter of fact, it might be this week. Now that I'm actually saying that, I'm like, wait a minute, it might be this week. But I believe you do in this course, which, by the way, having said that, also, how many of you, I'm curious, and you could tell me in the reply if you want, how many of you are taking 85? That is a course I normally teach, but I'm not teaching it this semester. Rick Gomez is teaching it, and I'm excited for him to teach that. He's going to use some of the content I created, which will be interesting. Okay, so let's look at 7, right? Yeah, create a new page. So in this case, you're creating a new page now for here. You're not actually building out all your pages, but also what this does is it gives you the experience of taking that template page, creating a new page, and make sure you have it somewhere that's clear on your site so that when I go to grade it, I can see that page. And then here's where you create your menu and the topic of your site. So just, again, you see as we're moving through this, how we're focused on that. Okay, so I've given you a couple of things for the attendants to reply to this week, right? Any additional questions you all have been asking, really good questions about the project, which is awesome. So if you don't have anything to ask, how many of you, I'm curious, are taking 85 starting in the second 9 weeks of the semester? Any questions about the template and using ChatGPT to generate the content would be a great time to ask about that. What was the other thing? There was another thing. Oh, the end of the semester dates, right? The idea of getting that in earlier, getting in early for review. You do end up on project 0 grading yourself as well. So that will help you make sure you tick off all of those topics. And it's one of the things that I see fairly common when I see students do this, and I'll just look again at this site, is the idea of making sure you're updating, because we will in the coming weeks update the favicon, having the title, which is part of the head section of the HTML, unique for each page, right? Having that sitemap that I talked about. You'll do images this week, so you'll start looking at images to do that. But having also some updates to the meta tag itself around that. So you'll see me talk about that. So if the more questions or the sooner you submit, the sooner I can look at that stuff. And I'm talking about the end of the semester because the good news is we're going to work on it as I said before. All right, I get to put my, God, that looks funny. Okay, have a great one and I will talk to you soon.